Hi, and welcome to my presentation on using technology to help build communication skills in students. I am Dr. Cara Metz, and I am the lead faculty of the counseling program in the College of Health and Human Services and Sciences. So today, for the presentation, we're going to go over who this is suitable for. Why is it important? What can we do to infuse technology within the classroom? How do we get students engaged and overcoming barriers? So I first became interested in this topic when I was creating courses for the counseling program. And in counseling, it is especially important to be able to view students' skills before they get out into practice with actual clients. And so without having some sort of meetup with our students in order to see in person their skills, I had to get creative in how we could create an environment where the instructor could actually evaluate the student's skills. So who is this suitable? For whom is this suitable? It's not just for counseling students. Anybody who has who's going to go into a career where they're going to be facing clients, patients, customers, or even maybe in a management position handling other employees. It's also suitable for students who need soft skills in order to be effective within their job. And so sometimes these soft skills need to be evaluated so that we know that we're producing quality future employees. And if they're not able to have the soft skills that they need to be able to succeed, this is where we could then intervene and help them gain those skills before they get out into the workforce. It works best if we have small to medium-sized classes. If there's a class of 50 students, it could work for the students, but as the instructor, it could be cumbersome because then you have to watch all of the videos and evaluate them and grade them. So I would recommend doing it for smaller class sizes. It's also suitable for students who might have to encounter difficult conversations. And so again, us being able to review some of those skills, some of those confrontation skills, allows us to be able to shape and help the students gain those skills that they need when they leave Ashford University. Also, building group skills. So I think the most hated word in education for students is groups, regardless if it's working together as a group for a project or being within a group in some other manner. But in reality, we know that when the students leave Ashford University, the groups never stop. We have meetings, we run groups, there's all kinds of encounters where we're going to be working with others in order to get a job done. So it's a really great way to have the students practice that ability before they get out into the field. And finally, if we're having courses that we need to build student-to-student relationships, this is a really effective way to be able to do that. So why is it important? Well, number one, we want student engagement. We want students to engage with one another and build relationships because oftentimes this will produce better students because they're engaged not only within the curriculum, but they're talking to one another and bouncing ideas off of one another. And so this can be a very valuable process. Also, we want to be able to get to know our students better. Sometimes when we're just reading discussions and papers, we have a small idea about our students, but getting to see their face and how they speak and how they interact with others can be invaluable to getting to know our students and having them feel invested because not only can they make videos that we can view, we can also make videos that they can view. I've already established relationship creation, and I've talked a little bit about the evaluation of skills, especially in counseling. It's so important that we know how our students are going to interact with others and how they can use some of the basic skills. in counseling so that we feel confident when they go into practicum and internship that they're not going to do harm to the client. And then finally, just providing an opportunity to be able to engage with students in a different form. I think some students really appreciate this, but I will say that many students at the beginning will moan and groan about having to do some sort of thing that's out of the box that they normally do. So what can we do? One of the things that I like to do for my students is in the first week with the introduction discussions, I create a personalized video for each of them, welcoming them to the class and finding some sort of connection with them. And I have had great feedback when the students come back to me saying that they feel very welcomed when they get something personalized like that. And so Canvas has a great option that's right there in the reply section to be able to create videos. So if you see the picture, circled is a little screen with a triangle in it. If you press that, you can make both video and audio recordings within Canvas, so you don't have to go outside, create a video, then link it to the post. And this can be just a quick, simple way to be able to get some of that face-to-face time with students. The one thing that I will say is it's not always the best quality of picture. Next, we can also have students make videos demonstrating important ideas within the profession. So a lot of times within the discussion, I will have students post a video about something, whether it's going over a report or test results, demonstrating skills, or even doing a role play. Oftentimes I will have students post an initial post and they will present as a client. And then in the follow-up posts, my students will be the counselors and kind of replying back. And I encourage my students to have as much back and forth conversation like that in order to really experience what it might be like going forward in the field. And especially with things going the way they are, technology really plays an important part in so many professions, whether it is business and Zoom meetings and just being so spread out. It can be an invaluable lesson to not only be able to demonstrate those skills in person, but also get that practice using the technology and seeing how that might feel in the future. With the counseling and psychology professions, we're going more and more towards video conferencing with our clients, doing text counseling. And so having these things built into the course can really create an environment that can put our students with skills that other students might not have. And finally, one of the other things that I do with my students is have group sessions. So for me, it's important that we do face-to-face groups. In fact, our accreditation states that we need to have students have 10 hours of group before they graduate. And so because our students are scattered all over the place and some of them live in rural areas, it's really important to be able to give them the opportunity to do this in class and not have to scramble to find something that might just not fit with their schedule or might not fit with their environment and where they're living. So what I've done is oftentimes I will have the instructor of a class host a Zoom meeting and record it, and then have one of the students lead a group session and then have the other students kind of follow up with that. And it feels more like a group in person. And it also, again, gives them that technology experience that most students who are in other forms of education actually don't get as much of. And I think that can really give our students a leg up. But going beyond counseling, with other professions, oftentimes you do have group meetings that are going to be in Zoom. And so being able to have that ability and that practice can be really invaluable to the students. So how do we get the students engaged? I will say that one of the top things that students say at first is, I don't want to do this. I don't feel comfortable on video. You know, I chose this program maybe because I'm more of an introvert and I like to be by myself. And so getting students engaged can actually be one of the hardest parts of this whole process. So things that I have done is I've made it a requirement. If we're doing a discussion, then we're going to do it through video. Or I offer it as an alternative. You can do the post and make sure it's an APA, include all your resources, or you can just hop on and do a quick video and you're in and you're out, and so sometimes students will take that as an alternative. And the last thing is explaining the significance. I feel like if students can understand why it's important that we do these things, why it's important that they have this practice, they have a buy-in, and emphasizing what an experience this is and how other students and other forms of education might not have this experience and how it might help them be more prepared in their career can be really helpful. So, but we do have to overcome barriers. So one is student buy-in, and we just talked about that. Students having access to a camera, but I think that Ashford is actually making that a requirement of students as they're entering into the university, that they must have access to a camera in order to meet the technological needs of attending. Technological abilities. So many students, although they enter into an online program, they are not very experienced with technology. And so having things within the classroom that are step-by-step demonstrations on how to use the technology and get it to work for them can be really helpful. And also having a backup plan. Technology doesn't always cooperate with us, so if we're able to give them one or two ways to be able to use the technology effectively, it can be really nice for students to know that they have other options and they don't feel as panicked. Student comfort is a big one, and I often find that going in, students hate it. But when I read the feedback coming out of that experience, many times students will say, I still hate it, but I really learned something through doing videos that I wouldn't be able to have learned through another means. So I think being able for them to see the value personally can be really helpful. So a lot of times that first video is really tough, but as they move through the program, they really begin to see how this can be helpful to them personally and help them within their career. So I think it's important that we start these ideas early on in the program so students gain that comfort, and then later on when it becomes pertinent that we see that the students have these skills or have the experience with these skills, that they feel a lot more comfortable. Also, possible ADA issues. So one great thing is that students can also make a video and then post it privately in YouTube, and YouTube will actually create closed captioning so that if students have a hard time hearing, then they have the words on the screen and the students can view that in another manner. So we try to encompass as much as possible so that each student can have this experience that works for them and just provides as much of an enjoyable experience as possible. So I would like to say thank you for attending my presentation. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them to me at cara.metz@rockies.edu. I appreciate your time and I hope you got something out of this. Thank you.